Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Sylvia. I post lifestyle videos on my channel. So if you're interested in this kind of content, please consider subscribing. So in today's video, I want to give you some very important information on how to choose a moving company, what things you could do when you're having problems with your moving company, such as overcharging, not delivering your items on time, theft, and things like that. So if you have an upcoming move, or if you have already moved and you're now having problems with your moving company, then please keep on watching. So the reason why I decided to make this video is because I recently moved from South Carolina to Utah, and I've had some problems with my moving company. They weren't delivering my items. I still don't have my items. As you can see, I'm recording for an empty apartment. And I had no idea what to do, who to contact, what I should do next. I also was very uninformed before I booked that moving company. So there's a lot of things, a lot of information in this video that I wish I would have known before I paid for my move, before I picked my moving company. By the way, I will not mention my moving company by its name in this video. So hiring a moving company is a very important decision, not just because there's a lot of money involved here, but also because you entrust all of your belongings, like memories of your entire life, to a stranger, and you have no idea if you will ever see these things again. So just to give you a brief summary of my own experience, when I started researching moving companies, I must have entered my email address or my phone number on some website on the internet, because all of a sudden all of these moving companies starting harassing me. And yes, I'm saying harassing because they contacted me by email, by text message, by phone call every single day. It just would not stop, and I could not get rid of them. So that was kind of annoying. So be careful about giving away your email address or your personal information, right? That's my first tip. So eventually I hired a moving company. They gave me an estimate. I went through all my belongings with the guys on the phone. I told them what kind of furniture I have, how many boxes I possibly had, which I didn't really know because I hadn't packed then. But so it was just a rough estimate. When they gave me this estimate and I signed my contract, I had to make a down payment of 25%, and I could use a credit card for that. Then the movers showed up to pick up my items. And it all looked very professional. So they wrapped up my TVs and things like that. But after they showed up to pick up my items, they sent me an invoice, which was much, much higher than the original estimate. It was almost twice as much. So I called the moving company about that. It was a binding estimate, and I thought binding means that they can't exceed the estimate. But what the lady from customer support told me was they couldn't exceed the price, or they couldn't charge you more per cubic foot than what was estimated. But since I had so much more, and I knew I had more boxes than what I had originally stated or indicated, that's why it was so much higher. So they sent me an invoice. They said now I had to pay another 60% of the remaining 75%, and they wanted this either via sale, via wire transfer, or direct deposit. So that was a little bit annoying. Since I was already on the road driving across the country, I moved from South Carolina to Utah. I think I've already mentioned that, but that's a 2,000-mile drive. So I couldn't pay that right away. But since the earliest delivery date was in early July, I figured, I had a few days. So the next day she called me again, the lady from customer service, who was very nice, by the way, and reminded me again that I really had to pay it because they couldn't schedule my move until they have received that second payment from me. So that night when we got to the hotel, it took us 3 days driving across the country. So the second night at a hotel, I just wired the money. But since that was right before July 4th weekend, they actually didn't get their money the day after July 4th. So they got it on July 5th. So on July 5th, the lady called me again. She said, okay, they received my money. They will load my items either that day or the next day. Then the next day, she called me and she said, oh, unfortunately, there wasn't any room for my items on that truck that's leaving for Utah or for the Western United States. So what the company did was they combined several moves onto one truck, a big truck, and they moved them together, right? So they said there was no room for my items. My items would get put on the next truck. So that was a little bit frustrating to hear that they didn't have room on that truck for my items, but she assured me that they have a truck leaving Charlotte, North Carolina every 5 to 7 days, and it would only take 5 days for the truck to make it to Utah. So I thought, okay, that's fine. But that's when actually all the problems began, because it wasn't 5 to 7 days. So a week later, I called them because I hadn't heard from them. I said, okay, so are my items on a truck? Are they scheduled? When can I expect them? She said, oh no, we don't have a truck yet. We don't know when we will get in another truck. I don't have any information. So I heard several excuses after that. But most of the time, she basically just said, I don't know. I don't have any information. I talked to dispatch. They don't have any information. I can't tell you anything else. So that's when I really started getting angry. My anger slowly built up. I was really frustrated because I had already moved into my new apartment. No furniture. I had an air mattress and I had one little table, and that's it. So you can probably understand how frustrating that is, right? At one point, I started calling them every day or texting them every day because they would not stay in touch with me anymore. And I always got the same answer, I don't know, we don't know. So I slowly started thinking or believing that I had been scammed. It's not a legit company, right? I started wondering about, what do I do if I never get my items? What's gonna happen? How can I get my items? I don't know. So to make a long story short, supposedly my items are on a truck now and they will get delivered tomorrow. This video will go up tomorrow, meaning on the 24th of July, which is my birthday, and it would be the biggest birthday gift for me to actually get my items. But I have not heard from the guy who has my items on his truck for a couple of days, so I have no idea if I actually will get them. We'll see. In this video, I want to help you to spot some red flags before you actually contract a company. Things I didn't know before I paid my hard-earned money and before I entrusted this company with my belongings. So there are some red flags that you should pay attention to. Really easy to fall prey to a fraudulent moving company. In fact, the Better Business Bureau says they have 1,300 moving companies with an F rating, meaning they have unresolved disputes. They get over 13,000 complaints from customers about moving companies every year. So it's not uncommon that something goes wrong with a moving company. It happens quite frequently. So you should know what kind of things you should pay attention to and what you can actually do when you suspect that you've been scammed or you have problems with your moving company. So let me talk about the red flags first. So not accepting credit cards, like it was in my case, is actually a red flag. So a lot of moving companies, they want you to pay a lot upfront, and they don't take credit cards. They either ask you to wire for a wire transfer or for direct deposit, like my moving company did, because that way the money is gone, right? The money is there, so you can't get it back. With a credit company, you can file a claim with your credit company. It's easier for you to get your money back. If your moving company doesn't accept credit cards as a form of payment, that's already a red flag. So another big no-no is when the company is not registered with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, the FMSCA, right? So you always got to make sure that they are registered with that administration, with that agency. So it's either stated on their website, like it was at my moving company. If it's not, you should really ask them directly. Are you registered with that agency? And I will get to the reason why this is important later when we talk about the things that you can do if you're having problems with your moving company. Also, if companies offer you instant quotes without on-site inspection, that's also a huge red flag. Like in my case, we went over my belongings, over my inventory on the phone, but as it turned out, the estimate was very inaccurate. In fact, When I started researching companies, I got estimates as low as $2,000 and as high as $18,000, just to give you an idea of the insane price range, right? And the company that estimated $18,000, that was actually the company that asked me to send them pictures of all my rooms, of my inventory. Although I do believe the $18,000 was wildly overcharged. That was way too much. But then again, on the other extreme side, the $2,000, now you got to ask yourself, is that really feasible? How realistic is that to have a cross-country move done for $2,000? I would say it's not. So my moving company charged me somewhere in between. First estimate was more on the lower end of that range, but then it ended up being twice as much, which is somewhere in the middle between these two extremes. So just be careful when they just give you an instant quote without knowing your exact inventory, because most likely that's not going to be an accurate estimate and it will end up costing you much more. Your moving company should also provide you your rights and responsibilities when you move booklets. So this is a booklet that movers are required to provide to their customers by federal regulation. So in my case, the moving company had posted a link to this Your Rights and Responsibilities booklet on their website. Of course, it's also a red flag if a moving company asks you to sign blank documents and paperwork before you move. So that's, of course, a big no-no. But some moving companies do that. So before we move on to what you can do when you feel like you got scammed, let's talk about the things that can happen but are not considered actual scam. For example, minor damages to furniture and to appliances. You can almost expect that on long distance moves. So things like that just happen. Also, some minor things disappearing, that's also not a reason to believe that you were scammed. You could report this to your moving companies. They should have insurance and should be able to reimburse you for minor things. Also, delivery delays of a few days. So your agreement that you signed with your moving company should say something about being compensated for every day that your delivery is going to be late. And reputable moving companies, they usually pay between $50 and $100 per day. So make sure you can find this in the contract that you're signing. If not, ask the moving company specifically about what happens if your items are being delivered late, if there is some kind of compensation. Make sure that's mentioned in your contract. I didn't even pay attention to that, to be honest with you, but in my case, it says $50 per day late fee. But for interstate moves, it's usually 21 days. The moving companies usually have about 21 days to deliver the items. And after that, they would have to pay you a daily amount of compensation for being late. Some small cost increases are also not a reason to suspect scam, but this should be less than 10%, less than 10% of cost increase of the original quote. Small cost increases usually due to inaccurate quotes, right? Now let's go through a few situations when you should file a complaint to protect your rights, but also to warn other future potential customers of that moving company. Number one is when you get overcharged. So when you have an interstate move, you usually get charged by the volume of your move and also by the distance between your place of origin to the final destination, right? So in general, the final price should not exceed the original quote by more than 10%, as I've already mentioned. Number two is when the moving company does not deliver your item. So they basically hold your item hostage. So sometimes moving companies do that. They won't deliver your items until you pay them a large amount of money. This is a type of hostage situation, I would say, and it's definitely a reason for you to file a complaint. In fact, the FMCSA has a regulation that's called the 110 rule, which states that moving companies cannot request or not demand you to pay more than 110% of the original quotes before they deliver your items. You can also file a complaint when the delivery of your items is extremely late, when there is severe damage to your items, when a lot of things are missing. So these situations also merit a complaint. So what can you do when you feel like you've been scammed by your moving company? The first step you should take is to contact the moving company. Send them an official letter per email or per post, snail mail. Try to reference your contract, your agreement as often as possible. Refer to that contract. Say, according to the contract, such and such, but such and such you have not kept your obligations. You have not kept your responsibilities. So this is what my first step was as well. I sent an email to the customer service representative I had been talking to several times and asked her to pass on this email to her manager. So I referenced my contract. I said, yeah, you said you would deliver within 21 days, and so forth, right? Now the problem is I didn't hear back. Nobody contacted me after I sent that email. I did not hear back. My representative confirmed that she had passed on this email to her manager, but who did not contact me at all. Never heard back from the company about that email, which really upset me further and which made me think even more that I had been scammed. They don't care about my stuff. So every reputable moving company, they would respond to a customer complaint and would try to reach a solution with you, right? They would definitely try to reach an agreement, a mutual agreement. There are also various government organizations that you can reach out to and send an official complaint to about a moving company. And this is what I did. So I sent an official complaint to the BBB, the Better Business Bureau. So they ask you to detail your case. They will then contact the moving company and give them 2 weeks to respond. The Better Business Bureau is a good place to start if you want to file a complaint because their mission is to protect consumer rights. What happened in my case was I filed a complaint and sent it to the BBB, and the next day my customer service representative reached out to me via text message and said, we are expecting a truck. Just wanted to let you know your items will get loaded either today or tomorrow, depending on when the truck will get here. Surprise, right? Was that just a coincidence? I don't know. That's a weird coincidence, right? But it happened. So that was at the beginning of last week, and supposedly my items are now on a truck on their way to Utah. We will see if they will ever make it here. You can also file a complaint to the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And this agency operates within the Department of Transportation. They often handle interstate moving scams. So you can also file a complaint there. By the way, I will put all the information down below where you can file these complaints, where you can find these agencies, just to make it a little bit easier for you. If you move within just one state and you don't cross state line, you can also contact your local state's enforcement agency. And I will also post a link down below for that, where you can find those agencies. Then the American Trucking Association, they usually represent the moving companies, but they also hold their members, which are the moving companies, to really high standards. So if you have a complaint about a moving company, you can certainly write to that organization and they will most likely follow up with that company because they expect a certain standard. If they think your complaint is warranted, they will reach out to that company as well. Now, as a last resource, you can sue the moving company. So the way this would work is you should contact a local lawyer that you can trust and detail your case to find out whether you have a valid case, right? But of course, this requires more financial resources. You have legal fees. It involves more stress. Takes a lot of time before these cases are solved. So this is really the last step you want to take if everything else does not work and if you have a legal case. Now, the last thing I want to cover in this video are some tips that can help you to choose a moving company. So if you start looking for a moving company, the first thing I would do is ask for some references from your family, friends, from neighbors, from co-workers, anybody you know has moved in the past. Ask them if they've worked with a moving company, if they can recommend their moving company. So I did this. I asked my realtor for recommendations. She gave me some people. Some of them didn't do interstate moves. One company I got a quote from was the one that was going to charge me $18,000. So those recommendations did not work out for me, but sometimes they do. So asking people you know for references doesn't cost you anything. So I would go there first. The next thing is you can research various moving companies on the internet. So you check their registration, their credentials, right? Also check whether they have insurance. Also check if they are registered with the FMCSA, like we've talked about earlier. You can use their USDOT number. The moving companies, they should have a number like that. You can look that up on the FMCSA website and find out information about their registration. Also check reviews. But don't just check the reviews on Facebook or Google reviews, because these can be fake, right? They're not always real, as we all know. Check on the Better Business Bureau website, because that's where unsatisfied customers would post their reviews. Ideally, they would post their reviews there. Also look up the moving company's address by using the Maps Street View, just to see if it's a real address, what's there actually, right? That would be an easy thing to do. Also ask the moving company to do a on-site inspection to give you a more accurate estimate. Ask about some hidden costs that you may have potentially have. Like a lot of moving companies, they charge an elevator fee. If they have to use an elevator to your apartment, they also charge a long carry fee. So meaning that only the first 100 feet or something are included in the price, and everything beyond, they will charge you extra. So I had both of these things in my case. Make also sure that you get a clear contract that details all the rights and responsibilities on both sides. Make sure you get everything in writing, right? A quote that you get over the phone is not legally binding. So make sure you get a quote in writing before you pay anything. So when you have a move coming up, the best thing you can do is to get as much information as possible before you actually hire a moving company. In this video, I try to cover as much as possible, things I didn't know before I moved, so I was a little bit ignorant in this regard, I have to admit. I had so many other things going on that I just trusted my moving company way too much with way too many things. Make sure you have all the information you need before you commit to a specific moving company and before you spend your hard-earned money. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I wish you best of luck for your upcoming move, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Take care. Bye.